All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try my hardest not to screw this up like I have the past 5 weeks. So this is Blair and Brandon back on the Throwin Sliders podcast, episode 38. We got Mr. DJ Brink, a local to the region sprint car driver of the ASCS Northern Plains Division, coming to us live from South Dakota tonight. Blair and I are going to talk local Colorado stuff this weekend, as well as some exciting news. So stay tuned here on the Throwin Sliders podcast, and we will get right into it. Let's do it. All right, feels good to be back in the old, what is it? We got so many damn area codes. Back in Colorado, I'll just say that. I'm used to saying 307, which is the whole area code for the state of Wyoming. But anyway, I got Blair and Brandon back on the mics tonight, and we're excited to bring a local guy back, trying to mix it up a little bit. So Blair reached out to Mr. Brink and excited to have him on, and I'm obviously probably more excited because I don't know DJ other than getting to know him in the pre-show, but yeah, welcome back, Blair. How was your weekend? Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Oh, thanks. You too, buddy. Not bad. Finally had a weekend off, so just worked on the car and then went to the local track here in Pueblo and helped my buddy Keaton Shore his first night in a sport mod. So that was a wild adventure. But yeah, doing really good. And then popped a tire, so I ran probably about 75 to 100 yards full sprint, and decided that pretty much, yeah. So it actually hurts more today. But yeah, so I still got it, but it's a good thing I didn't have to run all the way back or I would have passed out. So
good stuff, especially in this heat that we had this weekend. That was no joke.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as Blair and I mentioned, we got DJ on, so viewers piling in here, but obviously focuses on him. But after that, stay tuned. Special announcement that we're going to talk about this upcoming weekend. So without further ado, exciting news out of the Racing Rowdy Ranch camp. Did put in the order for a couple patch designs, so hopefully we'll have those up and running in a month or so you guys can get back on there and get on there. I noticed a lot of people saying, oh, you're out of stock and this, that, and the other. Well, we switched designs or means and methods, I should say, for the hats to make them last a little bit longer. So working through that and yeah, just getting some more designs. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on that. But thank you to Racing Rowdy Ranch for their support. And let's get it started and get DJ in here.
Racing Rowdy Ranch was created with one person, one adjective, and one place in mind. The blue-collar racer and the crew behind the scenes. A word that can describe these racers and crews and how they live. Finally, a place where the straightaways and turns are these racers' pastures and hills. All bordered by concrete walls that could share more than their fair share of memories, even after several coats of paint. We are racing. We live rowdy and we long to be at the ranch, riding for the brand. An apparel company designed to showcase just that, push the limits every day and be proud of who we are. Visit RacingRowdyRanch.com now to order yours today. Saddle up, strap in, and live rowdy. Proud presenting partner of Scrubbin' Tires Media and the Throwin Sliders podcast.
All right, there he is. Welcome to the show, Mr. DJ Brink.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was just thinking he would look good in a Racing Rowdy Ranch hat. We need to make that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Blair, I'll let Blair, you introduce Mr. Brink, and I'll just run the controls here for a while.
Yeah, so DJ and I actually just got to meet this last weekend or weekend before last at Sweetwater in Rock Springs, Wyoming, both racing there. And he came up and we got to finally talk. Him and his brother have been racing around, and I knew who they were for a while. But anyway, we got to chat, and he luckily had a spare tire to sell me, and kind of just started bullshitting a little bit and asked him to
Is that how you make friends, though? Where they give you free shit?
No. But anyway, so yeah, we've done that a little bit. I've seen him around. We've ran into each other at Casper and a few other places, and then finally got to meet. And I know he's always been fast, and it seems like every place we go. So anyway, had a little bad luck that first night. He was checked out in the main, and figured we'll get him on the show. We'll talk a little sprint car racing and maybe get a little bit of your story, DJ. So thanks for doing this. And I guess if you're ready, we'll just lead right off. We always kind of like to start with our guests, just a little bit of your background, how you got in. We just assume you didn't jump in a sprint car and go for it. But how'd you get started, and a little bit about your operation?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a racing family. My dad and both my uncles raced as I grew up. My dad started it with some motorcycle racing. That was in the 70s, I believe, and then started sprint car racing in 1982. My uncle was a really good flat track motorcycle racer, national number, grand national racer. And then he eventually made it into sprint cars as well. They ran that Rocky Mountain region that was kind of out of Colorado and South Dakota. And I started racing flat track when I was 4.
Motorcycles?
Yeah, flat track motorcycles.
Golly. You're insane.
And yeah, I did that up till I was 15. And then, of course, my dad was racing sprint cars the whole time. And he let me hot lap it one night. And from that point forward, I was pretty well hooked. So the following year, I kind of talked to him about it a little bit, and he wanted me to stay racing motorcycles. And I was a pretty bullheaded teenager and got on hose heads on the old classified and found a guy that would let a teenager make some payments to him on a sprint car. And bought my first car from Joe Kuba over in Minnesota. And yeah, I've had a ton of really good sponsors and people that have helped me along the way. And yeah, just kind of raced locally for, I don't know, I'd say 3 years. And then I moved back to Sioux Falls and traded my 360 for a 410 and raced Huset's for a full year. Did that in 2011. We had a pretty good year. Got rookie of the year at Huset's in the 410 class, and then kind of went broke doing it and sold off all my stuff. And then I started driving for the guy that bought it from me. And from that point forward, I kind of just drove for other people off and on for the next handful of years. And I guess I did go out on the road for a while as well. Clint Garner kind of helped me a lot when I moved to Sioux Falls, and he told me how beneficial it could be for me to go out and crew for other people, like on the Outlaws or something. And so I decided to take a year off for racing in 2013. Made my way down to Texas and worked for Print Place Motorsports down there for the owner. He was the driver as well, and we had like Johnny Herrera and Kevin Ramey on the team, and he owned their cars as well. But did that for a little while, and then I went to work for Terry McCarl for probably a year and a half or 2 years, kind of chasing like the beginning and the ending of the Outlaw season.
Yeah.
And then he'd allow me to go home and race throughout the summer and then come back with him every fall. So that worked really well. We did that for 2 or 3 years, I think. And I came back, had a really good ride opportunity here, based out of Rapid City, but kind of a regional ride. A lot of Sioux Falls and that area, Knoxville, a few times, but a lot of like I-80, Huset's, Hartford, Jackson. And then that turned into Frontier. We ended up running a lot of the Montana stuff the following year, but I drove for them up till 17, and the team dissolved. And then after that, I kind of took a few years off for racing. I only raced like once, twice, 3 times over the next few years. And then when they started this Northern Plains deal, me and my dad and my brother got together and we decided to put together a car and just kind of share a car and just have some fun with it again. And so then, of course, now the bugs bit us again, and now we're trying to race more and build up our equipment and all that. So I haven't raced a ton the last, I don't know, 5-10 years, but definitely getting back into it a lot more. So the last couple. So
yeah. Well, I feel like we skipped a whole lot of stories in between. So well, I'll let you go first. I had a question click, but I want to do it it was towards the latter of what he just said. So I'll let you shoot first, Blair.
Okay. Well, I guess my question would be is because I haven't been up to the region in like the South Dakota, Montana area yet. Obviously you said running 410 stuff. Is it is the 360 healthier there? I mean, is 410 stuff getting fewer and far between, or is it kind of equal? I mean, was making the decision to go back to 360 somewhat just budget?
So our state is kind of like east and west, and it's like a world apart, even though it's only 5 hours. So like over there, the 410 stuff is definitely more popular now. The 360s have pretty much all disappeared. There's like, I don't even know. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 at Jackson this year, but none at Huset's. And that MSTS tour that's over there, they actually converted to a 410 deal. When we got back into it, it was really because of this new ASCS region, because we could just race at home. Like the first year of that tour, it was like 14 shows here at Black Hills Speedway. And it was basically one of the only tracks on that tour. So I was like, I live a mile from there. So, but then of course, the way things have been going with it and stuff, probably if I could do it over again, I'd have probably looked at just trying to put a 410 together right away, I suppose, because we're traveling further to go run 360 shows now than what I would have to with the 410, you know? So
what's the, remind me again, what's like the rough magnitude of cost difference between the two? Obviously it's more motor than anything. What are we talking? 20, 25? Not even?
No, anymore. They're pretty much close to the same cost. I mean, there's maybe some price differences if you're buying new, but honestly, at the level I'm at with my budget and stuff, we're not buying new stuff. So you can find used ones in the same price as a decent 360 to a decent 410, pretty close. The 410s are a little harder to get. You see a lot less of them for sale though, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Well, so circling back to when you said you kind of shifted from driver to crew and you're working on the World of Outlaw stuff, tell us maybe some of the insights, like eye openers that you saw from racing locally or regionally to you're on the big show. At that time, the high limit hadn't been formulated yet. So that was the bee's knees, the World of Outlaws. Tell us, like, go through those stories for everybody listening.
There was, quite a bit. I mean, in a lot of ways, how you build your cars, how you maintain them, just a whole different way of doing it when you're doing it for a living. Right. And daily, and you don't have a job to attend to and stuff. Sure. And, I guess, I learned a ton about setup stuff. That was, really critical. And even now I can tell it's been enough years since I've been on the road that, I maybe don't have some of the advantage that I had when I first came off the road, if that makes sense, just on what those top teams are doing night in and night out. And, but in a lot of ways, a lot of what I learned is still transferable to today, just building race cars, how you maintain your stuff, and how you present your team and keeping things clean and organized. And if everybody on the team knows where everything's at all times, things always just click better. And I've tried to exemplify that in the way we've put this team together over the last few years. And obviously with a much smaller budget, but we're getting it built up. And I think you can win races from the garage, if that makes sense, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So I try to pride myself in not a lot of DNFs usually. This year has been a little bit different, but that's really probably the biggest thing I would say though. And then just how you adapt to each surface and each track night in and night out, and the things you look at. It's kind of a hard thing to train without just going and doing it, if that makes sense. It's hard to put it into words, I guess. So
go ahead, Blair.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. I've only seen 9 or 10 racetracks since we've been doing this. I've only been this is my 4th year in dirt, I think, and I'd never even watched but one dirt race before I bought my Lightning Sprint. So we're going on. This will be my 3rd year in the sprint car. But looking at racetracks and knowing kind of what they're going to do, like I can get an idea from guys that have been there, and they'll tell me, like when we went to Sweetwater, they said, "Hey, it's probably going to take rubber. Don't get, and don't miss up high. Don't go in there and smoke the wall. But other than that, you're on your own." And there's Brandon and I talk about it all the time. Trimble's from my hometown, obviously, but his car's not even here. He's driving for Matega and Hefner. Talk about throw you to the wolves. It's like I have no clue what we're doing half the time, and I take a baseline, and now I just expand on that. But it's, if people don't know, it's not easy to know where the racetrack's going, especially if you haven't seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah, no doubt. I
And
do feel like these. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like since I'm not driving so much anymore, but I feel like watching any of the sprint car shows or when I go help Blair or whatever, like I am focused on what the track's doing. Cause like, that's something that I'm still like not, don't know a lot about. So like when we get there, I'm going out with Blair and his father-in-law or his brother who's helping. And I'm like, what are we looking for? Stick the screwdriver in there. Like what is this going to look like here in about an hour? Cause I'm curious, cause I don't know anything about that. So it's a learning curve and I think to your point, you never stop learning and you never stop looking for that kind of thing. Even if you're a multi-time World of Outlaw or high limit champion, like that's something that you have to know night in, night out.
Yeah, no doubt. It's, I think even the best in the business are still learning every time their race cars on the track. So
sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so follow up. We'll switch gears a little bit, and Brandon, we'll probably be all over the place, DJ. There's no script to this one, but so in your area, Black Hills being your home track, we've kind of been learning about the region and some of the guys that travel. But growing up there and everything, was there a lot of rivalries? Or guys that you really either on the road or at home that you really faced? It seems to me that dirt has less of that. If you're obviously racing with a guy every weekend door to door or something, that's going to happen. But did you ever have guys up there that was just like week in and week out?
Maybe a little bit, nothing major by any means. And pretty much always been friends with or gotten along with everybody that I've raced against most of the time, But yeah, there's been a couple people in the past that it just seems like no matter what, we find each other on the racetrack and we're battling. It doesn't matter if it's 10th or 1st or 5th or whatever. Like a Ned Powers here in town. Great driver. He hasn't been doing it for a while now, but we've had some really, really good races in the past. Matt Heinzerling, Randy Miller for a while there. There's been some good ones that have, I don't know, we always seem to find each other, I guess. So
are you guys like, I don't know, that kind of click, if you will? I know that's cliche, but like we got the PA posse over on the eastern side. Are you guys kind of your own, like when you guys travel, like it's us against the world type, or what's the motive up there?
It might have used to been like that back in the day. Black Hills Speedway, a lot of years ago, for a long time, but especially when I was young, it was kind of one of the places to be, and I would say even rivaled Huset's at some point, as far as like kind of the biggest track in South Dakota in a way. Yeah. Back in like the 80s or late 80s, early 90s. And I think you got a lot more of that back then from what I've heard. But nowadays we don't have a very strong sprint car program out here on this side of the state by any means. Like I think locally they're getting around 10 cars most nights out there. And it's just, it's kind of died off in our area a little bit. So obviously Huset's is really good right now. So
sure. So what I guess you say the sprint cars kind of faded away. Did they just get out of racing in general, or do they switch to a different class, or where'd they go?
It's not just sprint cars, it's all of it. Okay. Every class around here. Yeah. There's some people that have some problems with how the racetrack's being ran and whatnot. And just, it's kind of killed it off, unfortunately, around here. So
damn.
We see the local racing, like the weekly series, just everywhere we go has been harder and harder. So like when we come in with a tour or something, regional series where it's one-offs with, you bring in some out-of-town cars and they're putting up some money, that seems to still do pretty well. Obviously, when we were in Wyoming, they didn't mean to, but they double stacked shows. So we lost probably, 8-10 cars. Right. But if they do that right, those seem to be successful. But everywhere we go and everybody we talk to, we've kind of heard, it's just tough. And I'm sure with Black Hills being so big, that kind of gets some of the guys out there who want to just go have fun and race, bull rings and stuff. That has to hurt a little bit because you're not jacking around on these big half miles. It's hard on equipment. You got to have a good motor. It just, the cost goes up to run that kind of track.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It, that's, and not only that, but it puts on less of a show with those small amount of cars too. So it's like a double problem almost, you go out there and I probably run there 2 to 4 times a year, I'd say, on average these last few years. And you get 10 cars out there, it's like a hot lap session, once everybody gets going. So it's unfortunate to see for sure. And I do feel like, especially in our area, the local racing is kind of down, but nationally it's up. There's more eyes on the top dogs in sprint car racing now than I would argue there's ever been. But for some reason, it's getting harder and harder for the local place to make it. So
yeah, and it is weird that I think you make a great point that we've talked. Everybody in sprint car racing has said the same. Like right now, I think whether it's World of Outlaws, mainly High Limit, whatever it is, like it is at the pinnacle of where it's ever been. But yet, if you want to go to your local, town or track that's 5 minutes away, 5 hours away, whatever, you're not going to see the same. It's a weird thing to see, one of the national stuff taking off, but the lower guys, if you will, and some of those guys, they're still kind of dipping back in between some of these shows that we see, but it's just not there. So I guess question to you, DJ, is why do you think that is? Do you think it's cost, or do you think it's strictly just some of the promoters that we have, or?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I think it's kind of case dependent for sure. I think there's a lot of people out there that work hard and try really hard, and for whatever reason, just it doesn't work or whatever. And I've been hearing the cost of insurance is going way up for these racetracks. And but what I see a lot of nowadays is a lot of racetrack operators and not a lot of promoters. And I just don't feel like a lot of these owners have gotten kind of with the times of the social media and how you advertise and thinking outside the box a little bit to bring more people in and try to compete, with the other things that are going on in whatever local community it is on any Friday or Saturday night normally. And then I do wonder if streaming, like if you're not a big fan of your local racetrack and you can sit at home and watch Knoxville on Saturday night instead and still get your dirt racing fix. I don't know, but it's a good point. Same token, I think it's making new fans and helping the sport grow too. So I definitely don't think it's all bad by any means, but
yeah, that's a good point about the streaming. Like, why would you, travel, buy plane ticket, hotel, all that, when you can just sit in your lazy boy and, get drunk as shit and watch it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's bad. Like you gotta be there to feel it, smell it, all those things. But yeah, it's a good point.
Well, and what's crazy is I know people will come out because every time they put up a monster truck show, and obviously these monster trucks at the local circle track are not your NHRA grave diggers and all that, and they're not really hitting it. Yeah, they're not hitting the monster jam type stuff, and the places are either sold out. In fact, they just bumped our sprint car show here at my home track till September because they're like, monster trucks had this date open, and it seems like if people would get out and see the cars. I know when we were racing last week, and I don't know how many people, I'm sure you had the same thing, came up and told me, just they couldn't even believe the sprint cars. They're just like, that was, and the little kids and stuff, it's like, it just blew them away. They're like, we haven't seen that around here. It's, you forget, it's like, oh, if they haven't raced there for 3 or 4 years, there's a whole new crop of kids. And I know I had probably 15 kids that are like, I absolutely love sprint cars now. And I'm like, well, that's what you need. So, but it is hard to get people out, and especially if they don't know what they're going to watch, or if they've been there on a weekly show and there's 5 cars in each class and they got 8 classes. We talk about that all the time too, just trying to run 9 classes in one night. It's like, you need some consolidation, and some guys are going to have to sell a car and get into another class that's beefed up because, 10 car races, or 5 car races are not fun, even on short.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And you get all those classes and you only got so many drivers. So then you're just taking them from other places most of the time, So, yeah, I agree with all that. It's, there's a ton of kids that came up last weekend and just were impressed with how the speed difference was and stuff like that. And you said that deal about the monster truck show. It's like around here, they'll sell out every demolition derby, and then
I
some.
hate demolition derbies because of that. I absolutely, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of cool in a lot of ways, but yeah, it's crazy the amount of purses, the amount of the purse. It's like 20 grand to win the local demolition derby here, and I'm like, that's more than the Outlaws get most nights, Yeah,
I feel like if they did something like, if any promoters are listening or watching, like if I know CNS, the local asphalt track up here, did the Father's Day on Sunday monster truck show, and it's a cool thing to take your hopefully, son or daughter, I guess, if they're into it, to that. But like, if we could establish a way to be like, look, there's a 30 lap, sprint car race, fireworks, whatever, do the same, like you said, DJ, advertising and promoting of it, I feel like we would get asses in the seats, and those young boys and girls would be like, holy, this is way cooler than the monster truck. Like, and then they'll be like, hey, we need to go more sprint car races. And like, I feel like there's a way to do it. They're so comfortable being comfortable with monster trucks, if that makes sense, that they just keep bringing them back year after year after year. And it's like, let's try something else, monster trucks are cool, but after like 5 minutes of watching them, it's the same damn thing all over again.
Yeah,
I get it though. It brings in money. So, I mean, that part of it, it's like you could fund some of your racing, beef up your purses. Cause I don't know if you're the same way, but, I talked with Kelby Cross this last weekend and they asked, and he's trying to do a good job running the Frontier region. We haven't met yet, but trying to get guys to come to the track. And he's like, what do you look for? As far as to go to a track. And for me, it's always, what's the purse? What's your average car count? Am I going to destroy 4 sets of tires, every night out? How is it going to step on my local points shows that I'm going to get paid out for at the end of the year? I mean, hopefully, but there's a couple grand there. It's a lot of factors. And I think if they're trying, that's at least a positive thing. But purse is always, if they don't post the purse, I get a little leery. If it's a place I've never been, am I going to get $500 or are you going to pay me $300 to start?
There's a hot dog for the way home.
Yeah. It's like you can't keep an operation going like that. So it does put a lot of onus on them to put asses in the seats and do a good job. Because like you said, the game's changed and you can't do it for free. You're a house car and that's like me too. I fund 97% of my own operation. So, for me to work 12, 14 hours every day to fund it and not go broke and then to go somewhere and then you get hosed, it's like, damn, I'm not coming back.
I always think they should put a tip jar where you get your pit passes just for water and make these promoters where they're not afraid to spend some money on some water for the racetrack. I'd gladly put $20 a night in that jar if I didn't have to spend $1,500 on tires. So
that's a good point. So going back to some of your race and stuff, I know and it's a great subject and we don't know how to fix it, the three of us on this show, about promoting and getting asses in the seats, but we can talk about it all night long. But so back to your kind of racing stuff, like obviously you heard me, I made the comment, like watching flat track racers, the 15 classes they had in 2019 when I was running the offset cart, like you guys are nuts. You guys are certifiably like all the safety features in the world. You ain't going to catch me out there going bar to bar with some guy leaning it over. Like how did your experience going from, you said you were 4 years old when you started that, which I can never imagine, and then transitioning into a car, like were you more nervous, more scared, or was it like I've done the scariest shit I've already done? So so the horsepower in a sprint car definitely scares you, right away, or at least it's eye opening, right? And it's probably the biggest rush you get over a flat track bike, that just that initial hit. But then having the cage around you actually gives you more peace of mind. So maybe a little less scared than, when you're used to going on a motorcycle at 100 miles an hour, like on a big mile racetrack or half mile or something. But it helped in a lot of ways. And then in other ways it didn't help. Like I think if I'd have grown up racing go-karts or micro sprints, I think a lot more would have transitioned. But I know like a lot of this, your main kind of, what do you want to call it? Your basics, your how to read a racetrack and where to put the car to be in traction, how you enter the corner, your diamond lines, the way you pass people, that all translates. It's the exact same thing, kind of just, handlebars and 2 wheels versus 4 and a steering wheel, So I raced non-wing for, I guess, about 2 years. And it's amazing how similar the non-wing sprint cars and flat track are, how you lift and pitch it into the corner. And, with a wing car, you're driving it in as straight as you possibly can. And the non-wings were definitely a lot more similar to flat track than a wing car is. So, that's cool. I wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah. It's funny. I've actually just gotten really hooked on watching flat track stuff on YouTube. My father-in-law, that's what he did, some flat track stuff and TTs when he was younger. And So I flipped it on one day and I started watching it and I loved it. So I was like, man, that looks like a blast too. You know, anything like that on dirt. And then they hit a lot of the same racetracks we're at. In fact, we watched them at Black Hills, video there. And then, you know, some of these miles and stuff. And it's, you're exactly right. It's like they're reading Dirt Devil's Bowl. You know, it was like, oh, so that shit, these are sprint car tracks and they're zipping around there. So it is pretty neat. And it doesn't get the shine I think that it deserves either. I mean, it's, you know, they got a lot of time and money in those bikes, and
I just have to look away when they start wrecking, dude. I'm like, someone's getting a ride in the ambulance. It's never good.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people know about that sport anymore. You know, it obviously used to be really popular way back in the day, but it is for sure one of the most, if not the most dangerous form of like motorcycle racing out there. You know, like you'll break bones and worse in Supercross, but like flat track, it's kind of life or death a lot of nights, it seems like anymore.
It's obviously I haven't been up to IMI in 4 or 5 years now, but man, like I said, they no joke had like at least 10 classes of the damn things, from the little tykes on the 50 all the way up to the vintage. Like it was crazy. And I think it's still like, you know, I still follow all the pages on Facebook and stuff that we used to be like under, essentially like the circuit, if you will, but it's pretty popular here. I don't know a lot of guys that, you know, chit chat about it on social media, but it's still pretty prevalent, at least in Northern Colorado. I think, Blair, correct me if I'm wrong, IMI is the only place that runs them here, but it's a good little track for them.
We used to go down to Erie and race down there. I don't know if they're still running.
Yeah, that's if you go east of the CNS, that's where it's at.
Oh, that's same place. Yeah, the D-shaped track there. Yeah, nice.
Yep. And I always hated it running the go-karts there because the track would be perfect for us. And then you get those 10, and then they start adding four-wheelers and lawnmowers. And it's like, you get so rubbered up that you got to widen everything out to make it loose because it got so tight in that rubber. But it was just part of that learning curve.
You bet.
So Brandon, I don't know if you still wanted to go on flat track, but I was,
no. I'm just
okay. Yeah, I'm interested in that too. We can talk about that all night too, just because I've been learning a little bit and watching more and more of it. But so what's the plan, DJ? I mean, obviously you race, and then we didn't even mention your brother. So I've gotten to race around him a couple times too. I haven't got to meet him yet.
I was going to say, what's the Brink Bros about?
Yeah, so it's my little brother. We just our little team, I guess. He has his car now, and I have mine, but we did share a car for the first like 2 years, just trying to build up the operation. And so like we'd only run at 6 shows a piece a year or something like that. It was pretty small schedule the first couple. And I think last year he had a good partner come on board, and they got him his own ride. And it's a lot of fun getting to race him. You know, we'd always have to talk smack, and we could never prove it because couldn't race each other. So
right. Yeah, you're like, I'd whoop your ass, but I'm not in the car tonight. So
yeah.
Is it?
Sorry to interrupt there, Blair. I knew.
No, absolutely not. No, that's fine. No, I was thinking, is it hard? Because I did race my brother for a while too when we were on asphalt. Is that does that hard for you? I mean, or you just tune it out and it's just another car? Because I was always like, we had to go home together, you know. So we took the same trailer and stuff, and also, of course, it's like you never want to wreck anybody, you never want to, get into anybody. That definitely, it was hard for me, and he's my little brother too. But it's like I don't want to give him an inch, but I also was like, damn, if we tear it up here, you might kill him or something, and then Thanksgiving's gonna suck,
Yeah. For me, I don't look at him as just any other car by any means. I'll definitely give him maybe a little more space, but he did come in chewing me out one night because I chopped him in Casper pretty bad. So, I guess I didn't give him too much room every time, but
that's got to show him who's boss every once in a while.
Right?
Still.
So what does your season look like? I mean, how many races are you trying to run? Are you running all Northern Plains? You're going for a championship. You run, obviously you get around a little bit. You ran with us in that combined series in Nebraska. So is that, are you trying to run for the championship?
We definitely didn't set out to do that. So
never do, right?
No, never do. Well, every time I try to, something happens. Like I crashed the very first night and just completely end our chances or something goofy. But no, we went down there and there wasn't, I didn't realize you guys were running most of it, but like only Adam Speckman from our region came down. And we started talking about it, and we were going to go to Dodge City the same weekend as Rock Springs and run with the national tour down there, and Waukene, I think. And then we're like, well, why not just go to Rock Springs? It's a little bit closer, and we can maybe try to run for a championship if we're see how the end of the year is. I guess, we're not going for it, but I guess if we hit them all, great. But as of now, I don't think I have any overlapping dates on it. So most likely I'll be at all the Northern Plains stuff at this point, unless I tear something up and run out of my spare stuff. But I think I got 20 to 22 shows on the schedule this year.
Damn.
It's always usually pretty tentative. Fortunately this year I'm a little better set up with a couple cars, couple motors. But normally it's like one car and one motor type of thing. So, but yeah, we'll pretty much stay in this region. We'll probably run a couple more with the Frontier. We ran 2 with them already. And then I had a couple more with Western Plains on the schedule that are kind of up in the air. It's the, I think July 6th and 7th down in Nebraska again. And then we might go to Arizona in the fall possibly and do some racing down there. So,
yeah. Dang. That's quite the haul for you down to Arizona. What is that, like 12 hours, 10 hours?
To be honest with you, I haven't even Google mapped it. It's down to Phoenix there, by Phoenix.
Oh,
yeah, a long way.
16 maybe or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So the plan for that, they got a nice little kind of a group in the schedule. And then we have a Legionnaire that flies right out of Rapid City here. So I'd leave the pickup and trailer and just fly back and forth and get to race 2 or 3 weekends down there, hopefully. So
made it to the big time.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
That's hard because obviously, I mean, what do you do for work during the week?
So I'm an engineer at Legend Suspensions. We do like motorcycle suspension for V-twin Harley stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool job.
Yeah, so they give you some time. I mean, I'm sure you have to try to schedule that out, but they're pretty cool about letting you go when you got some big races.
Very flexible, and we work all 4-day weeks. I have Fridays off already anyways, so it helps a lot. So
that's cool. That makes it better because that's what's hard for me is that travel, and then like even Rock Springs was 7 hours, and it's like I got to get home and go back to work Monday. My parents don't care, they're pretty cool, but they're like, oh, we got shit to do, so
right.
You'd be dragging ass or not, and then it's podcast Monday night, and I'm like, dang it. So a couple times a month. I can usually do every other weekend, but working on the car and getting it ready to go again, it's like, holy moly, the summer in the middle of it, it's always like, damn, I'm smoked. And then when the season's over, I'm like, I wish I would have raced even more. So it's
get 2 weeks off and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go again.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Blair, I'm a nerd when it comes to like graphics and the wrap. Blair showed that shared that picture of your car, the black 21 you got back there. Who designed that? Was that your idea? It's slick looking car is what I'm getting at, but
no, it's actually one of my good partners, Redline Design Company, Coulter West. They're out of Gillette, Wyoming. He does really good work. I gave him the colors and he went to town, and that's what he came up with. So
yeah, the black, gold, and white are starting to show up on more and more dirt cars. I'll say we have a local gal that races the daughter of Joe Bellum, who we were mentioning, and Laney runs that same paint scheme. And man, it's a good looking car. I don't know why those 3 colors stand out like that, but they always seem to be up front for whatever reason. You never see a cool looking car in the back, I guess. Unless you're Blair, but.
I'm going to need to make it look a little better then so I can get a little further up, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Got to add another color to it and then
There you go.
Well, I will say historically, everybody that's come on the show either wins the next week out or thereafter. So you might be, I don't know what it is. It's true.
Podcast bump.
Yeah. You
made hopefully
it
carries for a few weeks. I got a few weeks off here. So
yeah. Well, we can have you on again in 3 weeks right before the show and
there you go.
Get the mojo going.
Yeah, I think Blair will be coming up here for it anyway. So,
we're going to try to make it up there for 4th of July. I'm kind of in the same situation as you were last year. I only have the 1 car and 1 motor right now, and then the traveling in between. I'm a little afraid of just that. Even like that last weekend, man, just turning that RPM. I mean, and I have a good motor. That's one thing. But it's like, man, those big half miles. And like you said, if car count's down, purse isn't up, it's hard for me to justify that, even though that's like, we had Speckman on and I talked to him. He's been like, you got to get up here to Black Hills. And Rick Lowry, when he freshened my engine, he said that was one of his favorite tracks to go, him and Nick go race up there. He said, it's just a badass place. And just, he said, you're going to have to hold your balls tight because it's a big, fast joint. But those have kind of been I'm a little bit leery of them. I like the big tracks, but if the racing's not great and then you're putting all that wear and tear, that's the only thing.
For sure.
And then if it's 2 nights at a track, that helps me too, because it's like then to drive to, Gillette the next day. And, it's like, man, it makes it tough. But we're going to get up there sooner or later. So for sure.
Yeah.
But
I would bet for that show, they'll probably end up pulling, I would get somewhere between 15 to 20 for that one.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'll be pretty decent car count, I think. So
just tell the promoter if I come up there, you got to do a down payment on my new motor.
There you go. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
No, we've watched a lot of stuff there and it looks like a badass place, but that's the only thing. And I'm not sure what difference it makes, but I know if you're turning the motor that hard all night long for a couple nights, it's just like, man, that ruins. If it's at the end of the year, I don't have problems. I'm like, I can get it fixed or get another one, or I'm trying to get another one together. And
we're dead in the middle of the season.
That's the only thing. Those big, that's even like, Dodge City, the last time we were there, I don't think I lifted for 14 laps and it just singing all the way around, It's like, that's hard on shit. And I've, but
Rapids usually pretty dry. Yeah. Okay. Rapids usually pretty dry. So it most likely won't be too hard on it. And then Gillette is like a small ice skating rink. So it's about like idling your motor there. The way it's
be fun.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm awful at that. We joke about it on the show all the time. I just absolutely terrible in those ice rinks, coming from asphalt. It's like, I just want to it's so hard. I'm getting better at it because I've had to, but I've gotten plenty of ass chewings for just be like, if you light those tires up one more time, I'm leaving, my crew guys. It's like, I just hate it so much, but man, it's just one of those skills you got to learn.
Oh yeah. So I actually watched my dad win a show there one night with 7 cylinders, and he drove away from the field. And I was like,
small
traction control right there. So
So what is we try to ask a lot of people like Blair and I go back and forth. What is your style of track? You like big, like small, like, and then what, like, are you talking slick, dry, rubbered up? What's your preference?
I guess I kind of like short tracks. I've always really enjoyed Black Hill Speedway and the big stuff. But I would say the older I've gotten, I enjoy kind of the tighter, quicker race tracks. And then I'm usually a dry slick guy most of the time. But I'm pretty strong on the bottom of the racetrack a lot of nights, but it seems like the style of racing's changed a little bit. You don't get to slow down to hit the bottom much anymore. You kind of got to float the middle and keep the car really straight. And so I guess that's changing. I don't get to race like that anymore a whole lot.
It is interesting you say that, because like watching, on TV, like a sprint car race, the guys that do try the bottom, and like there's some moisture there, but like they have to be, not to say you don't have to be on point every single lap, but those guys, if you miss like an inch, you're going backwards. Probably you're getting past at least one car position. And it's just like, if you're down there, when it works, but like it's the risk versus reward is like, you got to be pretty ballsy to do that lap after lap.
Yeah, no doubt. And I do think like this new tire, you got to have something for it to lean on for it to really work, if that makes sense. And usually come feature time, like the only thing on the bottom that your car is going to be on is moisture in the left side, so your right rear is just hanging out in the slick. And I don't know, it might not be all the tire, but it sure seems like that's kind of when stuff started really changing, or at least I noticed it. So
sure.
Really cushion dependent, so.
But it is cool too to see people banging the boards up there and trying to find that 2-inch strip of moisture that's left.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
it's cool when you get both though. Like I watched a race probably about a month ago, and the guy was literally, like you said, he was idling around the bottom, it looked like, but he just kept nailing it, and the guys around the top just zinging at 8,400 RPM, and he's probably running at 5,700, just barely ramped up on the cam. and flooding the motor out. You know, it's like it's just popping and
Well,
banging. And
like we were talking last week, Blair, when you asked me that question, it's like when you get a short track, like DJ was saying, and you got two guys that are, 3 car lengths away or 3 car length widths away from each other. And like one guy will get the momentum on the top, but then corner entry, that guy on the bottom, that's just cool racing. And then eventually one of them is going to say to hell with this and fall in line, or the other guy goes to the top. But if you can watch a race for, half of the feature or whatever, and they're doing that, not even in first and second, but like they could be mid pack doing that. That's where my eyes are. I'm like, I don't care about the leader that's checked out and lapping the field. Like I want to see these two, who's going to, make that mistake or freaking slide up in front of him and cause, whatever's going to happen. I think that's where the real racing's at.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So we need to get Blair comfortable, and maybe when DJ comes to town, we'll tell him to do that. DJ, you stay at the bottom. Blair, you stay at the top. Doesn't matter who beats who, just put on a show.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't let that go either. That's one thing.
Yeah.
You can tell when he gets in the car, he sends it. So don't let him lie to you. He's maybe a smooth operator, but he goes for it. So
yeah,
you tell that right away. We went out on the track that first night. We were talking. You were hooked up. You actually had an oil. Did you get healed up? I know you got burned. So
yeah, no, it did blister a couple days later, but it was a pretty small spot. So last race, I guess, over in Wyoming. Where were we again? Rock Springs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Leading the feature and had a valve cover gasket blow. And
that's okay. Yeah, he was telling me about that.
Yeah, got my leg soaked in oil there, and I held on for about 5 laps, but covered it. It was coming through the bell crank hole on the dash, and put my hand down there to try to block it and keep racing. And pretty soon I couldn't see because I had so much oil on my face and my shield. And so I went to go grab a tear off, and then I forgot my right hand saturated in oil, and it's burning.
Shit.
And about crashed trying to grab a tear off, and I pull with my left. So anyways, got it gathered up, and I'm like, I got to be done here. I'm going to end up blistered and crashed race car or something. So
yeah, that's unfortunate. And then you said there was another guy, a fuel line came off and soaked him in methanol.
Yeah, Logan Hershey. That second night he was dousing. I mean, that's that kind of stuff will scare the shit out of you.
Yeah,
so he pulled in, but yeah, it's just that's what I mean. Some of these tracks that are hammered down or take rubber or something like that, they're just hard on shit. You can just feel it in the car. Sure. It is so hard on stuff, but man, it's fun when it sticks. And
I picked up a pretty good vibration from my right rear. And I think that kind of helped the valve cover loosen up a little in order for the gasket to blow or something. Cause for about 5 laps there, it was vibrating pretty bad, so definitely loosen up some fasteners. So
yeah, that was like my freeze plug. I've never had a problem with that. I mean, they're JB welded in, they've got the water lines to them, and that thing it sounded like a bomb went off. I thought I popped the right rear. I had no idea where it came. Just all of a sudden started sideways on me. And I'm like, and then I figured you were going to come railing through there. So I was like, I hope I don't kill anything. I just tried to stay up. Man, those tracks are tough on stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Well, buddy, we're about to that 1 hour mark. I don't know if you wanted to. I know we're deep in conversation here. We are freaking hour in. So we wanted to give you an opportunity. Obviously, we'll probably chat about you more as the season goes, and Blair, obviously races against you, and you come down to our neck of the woods. But certainly wanted to open up. Obviously, judging by your background there, you got a whole operation and a lot of people that make it go. So we wanted to open it up. We saw your little cheat sheet there in the pre-show, so the time is yours, buddy. Now it's your time to shine.
Yeah, I mean, I got to thank all my partners and all the guys that helped me out and stuff. My dad and my brother when we built this deal, and Mark Flieger and James Bradley, John Biggins, they're part of my crew, and Brian Anderson now is kind of teamed up with me, and we got another car going in our team, kind of, and then, I've got a lot of great partners, Wood Builders Incorporated, Rapid Rooter Plumbing Service, Granite Automotive, Finish Line Repair, Frisk Racing Engines, Pro Shocks, Redline Design Company, Fastenal, Dylan Thompson with Fastenal, Biggins & Sons Trucking, Longacre Racing Products, Scorpion Racewear, Wide Open Brew Coffee, Jail Tools, New Tool and Inspection, Rick's Body Shop, Rod End Supply, Motivity, Quiness and Salon and Spa, TR Racing, Tom's Tees, and CE Landscapes.
That's a hell of a list. Good for you.
Yeah.
It's cool. You get a lot of support up there. That's good.
Yeah.
Wide open coffee. What was that about? That sounds
Wide
awesome.
Open Brew Coffee. Yep. It's a local coffee company that started up here. They ship everywhere, but they're a motorsports based coffee company. And the owners are that was my wife telling me I forgot to thank her, I guess. So
Oh, that's a true test.
yeah,
That's a true test.
right, for sure. Boy, hopefully I'm not in too much trouble, right?
Yeah, well, we could give you 5 minutes to make up for it. So
Yeah. Tell us about your wife. Tell her.
Yeah. No, that's the only reason I get to do this. She's got a great career and holds the fort down for sure. So, she takes care of our 2 kids when I'm out on the road and works really good. So
there, so you just saved the whole podcast. Now you're back in the good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna be sleeping in that garage, buddy.
Yeah.
We'll cut a reel of just that and see how many wives we can get to interact with that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, buddy, we appreciate your time tonight. Again, thank you for coming on the show. Sorry it was kind of a late ad here with me traveling last week, but certainly glad we got you in and
anytime. I appreciate the opportunity anytime. So
yeah, well, and good luck to you the rest of the year, man, and we'll keep tabs on you and hopefully see you at a race. Me personally, come to help Blair one of these times. So
yeah, that sounds great. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll go take care of that wife and them kids, man.
All right.
Thanks for doing this, bud. Good luck.
All right,
yep. On the road.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right, buddy.
All right. DJ Brink on the Throwin Sliders podcast.
Yeah,
good stuff. Love when the wives, unfortunately, yours is downstairs, right? Listening to everything. Well, I will say, I apologize to Tara. I have done a terrible job. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but you too. We collectively have done a terrible job. Tara has become a vital asset to this whole Throwin Sliders podcast, Scrubbing Tires Media. She does a lot behind the scenes that you guys don't see. So round of applause for Tara. I know some of the viewers shout out to her, every time we go on the air, I should say. So shout out to Tara. She does a lot for Blair and I, and what Blair and I lack in either technical stuff or just etiquette or whatever. She's our best critic that we have. She'll let us know if we sucked or if we did good. So shout out to you, Tara. I know probably at this point, 80% of the viewers are just watching for Tara's comments and stuff like that. It's not even about Blair and I anymore, but shout out to Tara.
Well,
but anyway,
it's funny because at the racetrack too, I was just going to say now, like that's one thing. She's adaptable. She's doing tires, shocks. And now I just trust her to do it. I go, did you set them where I wanted them? Or what do you, I even asked her for her input. What do you think? And that to me is just amazing because, and granted, a lot of the wives are, taking care of kids and doing that stuff, but shit, I'm to the point where I'm like, I put a lot of it on her and I'm like, man, I better not piss her off or she's going to have 6 inches of stagger in this thing and just load me up into the fence. But no, it's pretty cool. So yeah, we do appreciate you, babe. So
yeah, we got to see. I say that and we get a comment. Ryan Rader, we always like Tara more than Blair. Warren Rhodes, Tara's the best part of the team. You're damn right. I mean, so anyway, she gets her 5 seconds of fame here. But where I was going with that is it is cool to see the guests that we have or whatever, their wives or their family engaged, obviously in the comments, supporting them, or obviously that was a cool interaction where he's rattling off his sponsors and the wife's like, hey, you forgot the most important one.
The main one. Yeah.
That's the main one. Yeah.
No,
so
for sure.
Obviously it's about a month past due Mother's Day, but we're thankful for all the racing wives and mothers and stuff. Cause we do, my wife can attest to this, the stress level sometimes. And we don't mean to, it's just, you're the first person there and we cuss and throw shit and do everything, but they keep going to the racetrack and everything like that. So shout out to all the women and the fathers. As I mentioned, happy Father's Day, I guess a day later, to all the wonderful fathers. A lot of the fathers got us into this terrible sport that we spend so much money and time doing, but we're thankful for them. So, all right. Well, appreciate DJ coming on the show. Did want to, I'll pass to Blair for kind of the announcement of this weekend and what's going on, but did want to shout out, speaking of Tara, we did get the Throwin Sliders podcast Instagram back up and running. That was on me. It's just a lot of work behind the scenes on all these different platforms we have and getting everybody to interact and talk to each other on the different platforms. So we are back on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, please go give us a follow. I have to, follow, right? Instagram. Yeah. It's not a subscription. follow on Instagram, and we'll try to post. I think everything is going to be linked together, so anything we post on Facebook, Instagram, vice versa. So you'll see all of our content there. It does mean a lot. Give us a follow, and we'll try to interact with your race teams and stuff like that as well, and comment on your stuff. So wanted to shout that out again. Thank you, Tara, for that. Blair, I'll pass to you because I'm also excited for this weekend.
Yeah, no, if you see it, subscribe on YouTube. We got that page going again too. So it's pretty much flat there. We'll get it going again. That's going to take some time. We know most everybody, like I said, they'll watch this tomorrow, or listen on Spotify. So we do appreciate that. But other than that, no, just business as usual. So everything's chugging along, and we appreciate these guys, like DJ. We just got to meet last weekend. He came up, introduced himself. I could just tell right away he was a good dude. And then, he's hauling ass on the racetrack. So it was, he was hooked up, and it was kind of a bummer. It's obviously like I picked up a spot when he had to go out, but you never want to see something, you don't want to win like that, run and win, but you don't want to pick up spots like that. You want to see everybody just humming along. And so anyway, he helped me out with the tire, and it's like, let's do this. Let's get some of these guys like we talked about. It's kind of the goal of the podcast. So a lot of fun.
Yeah. We only invite fast people to the podcast. The two hosts are slow as shit, but the guests are supposed to be fast. So we get something to talk about. Get more views if you show more. Nobody wants to see this. It's Thank God we're married is all I can say, right? We don't look like we used to underneath all these clothes. So, I was getting at Mr. Blair's going to be running at I-76 in Fort Morgan, and Tara help is on the way. At least for this weekend, I'm going to come out there and do what I can and help you out and try to stay out of the way, and praying that Blair does not wreck the car, because historically, every time I go, he steps on it, and I think he's trying to impress me. Like, hey, I actually know what I'm doing, but not when I'm there. Just kidding.
I just want you to think I'm cute.
Well, when I don't know what I'm doing, and we have to replace the front axle in the future, that's not cute. So think opposite. That's the
I'll try not to do that. I think I've only wrecked this car a couple times. I think it was literally both times you were there. So
I'm telling you,
I'm knocking on wood like 3 or 4 times, and this is particle board, so I'm gonna have to get something stronger. So don't jinx it.
Insert bad joke here. I'm waiting for it.
And I don't think somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think wing sprint cars, except for 305s, have been at I-76 for a long time.
I'm interested to see how this is going to go.
Yeah, if you're a sprint car guy out there, 360, or even probably could get away if they go ice rink slick, you might be able to get away with the 305 out there. If it's pretty tacky, it might be a little bit tougher, but usually it gets slick, so it should be interesting. That place is it's kind of like a tiny. Not a tiny, it's a quarter mile, so it's a bull ring, but not Lawrenceburg. But anyway, I don't know. My brain's done.
It's that time of night.
Just give it up live on air.
Right, call it. We're done. We don't have any dirt dollar segment. High Limit doesn't run for another week or so. Here in about 10 days. We did talk about when we had Chase Rodman on. We did talk about the fastest chicken, Chase Randall. If you guys listened to that episode, and he ended up getting the win at Huset's, ironically enough, having DJ on from that neck of the woods. So they ran yesterday. Last time we did do dirt dollars, Blair, Tara, and myself did not win. I don't even know if Kyle Larson ran when we made those picks last Monday, but Spencer Baston did not win. And you picked the kind of the local guy that hasn't really been, forget his name, Johnson.
No, I picked Brian Brown for Eagle.
Was it?
Yeah.
I
think that was my last pick. So yeah, he didn't do anything special, but and then Larson he barely made the feature. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a weird, because historically, like, Abreu and Larson.
And they both struggled. So that was a different night. And then a couple guys crashed out that were leading, and that's a cool place. So I'd like to go race there too. But I think that's when you start getting more 410 country. They're kind of like what DJ was saying. There's just certain places, because that's kind of what cost. The only thing that I think we didn't cover there is there's a really good video, if you guys haven't watched it yet, that T-Mez put out about the cost of sprint car racing. And he's obviously drives for a living, but it's been mostly non-wing and midget stuff. And he's starting to get into the wing shit. And it's like, man, I got to have help. He's actually asking for help, and he's a big name. So, and I I think freshening 410 motors, I can get about 20, depending, like if we go to big half miles that are fast,
Yeah.
you know, you get maybe 20 nights out of a 360 before you spend a minimum probably 10 grand freshening them. But 410s are between 10 and 15,000, and you can get probably 15 nights out of them. I know Outlaws are probably no more than 10.
Right.
So
Crazy.
that might be the only difference there, or just that they freshen them because they can and they got them on hand, and you know. But
Sure. Why not?
yeah, I wish they were all just 410s. Make a lot more for sale out there. Be a lot easier.
It would make sense, to be honest, if all the series, obviously, it would suck for someone that only has a certain budget, right? And they can't go afford to upgrade or whatever. And that's why I was asking kind of the cost differential. If you had a 360 frame, like what all would you have to change? Obviously, the motor and stuff. But
Cars are exactly the same pretty much. The only thing is you do a little different setup on a 410 just because it's an aluminum block, so it's a little lighter on the nose. Yeah, so you'll see they don't trunk the wings as much, or you know, they have to they can get the front end a little lower down to the ground because they're not going to bottom the shocks out and stuff. But yeah, it's all pretty much the same. And even cost, like I said, 360 was supposed to be, you know, like a $30,000 motor new when they were building them, and now it's 60, 65 for a top of the line 360. And 410s, you can buy it right off Speedway for, you know, guaranteed to make 950 horsepower. I saw them on sale for 63,000. So it's like there's
on sale. What a bargain!
Yeah,
Shit.
Yeah.
Let me get 2 of them.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're going to run full-time Outlaws or high limit, you're going to need 8 to 10 of them probably. So
that's insane.
That's
why
part of the sport is
good stuff.
Yeah, it's running away a little bit for guys like me. You know, I always wanted to get there. I mean, I've only been doing it, so I figure even just doing what I'm doing is kind of it's hard. But yeah, I think if there was a bunch of 410s floating around and more used ones for sale, like you said, it's just hard to find them. Guys hang on to them.
Well, do you think, I guess not to go back down that rabbit hole, but do you think, like, because you see a lot of micros and midgets, like there's a plethora of them for sale, and not even that old. They could be 3 years old, just someone upgrading a larger team or whatever. But do you think over time we'll see that, or is it just, you know, that it is what it is as far as 410s?
It's hard to say. I think you're going to see more guys. So that was kind of my biggest advantage of seeing what high limit can do, is that the more tracks they hit along the way, say if they're in a region, you know, guys want to try it. They're local regional racers that are, you know, top dogs, that they're, you know, top 3 guys every weekend at their local tracks and stuff. If high limit and those keep hitting them, you know, there might be more of a reason to buy a 410, and then maybe the series pop up, which would kind of probably kill the 360 someplace. But then you go to like the Northeast and Skagit, they have like a Sportsman 360, 410, and they're huge classes each weekend, and they all run in the same night. Sure. But so I guess it just depends, you know. But I think kids feeding into it. I do midgets are tough. I don't see midgets being as sustainable, because you got like a Keith Coons ride and that's granted top level too. But for a local show, a midget, they don't get paid as much as we do, and they cost all the same. You know, I mean, for a good one, for a good midget, you know, you're 60. Stanton used to be $45,000 or something just for the motor. And I don't think they can go as far on freshens as even we can with the 360. So, and then, you know, you get half the pay or close to it that we do. That one is one I see kind of going to be tough in the future. Yeah.
I did like, as we're wrapping up here, it's interesting to think about what DJ said about, you know, the influence of streaming, right? And we can sit anywhere. It doesn't have to be in your living room. You could, you know, I have it all of them downloaded on my phone in case I'm out and about, and I can, you know, tune in and watch whatever race is going on. But it's interesting to see that what he said about, I feel like we all agree that the pinnacle of sprint car racing is now 2024, maybe into 2023, but certainly now in 2025. But you don't see asses in the seats, and the local show, you know, following that same trend line. It's a very, you know, I'll sit on that for a while and think about that. Like why is that? And I do think the one answer is streaming, because I mean, personally, if there was sprint car racing closer to me, I would rather be, you know, out there watching it, you know, and I'm talking like in the same town, right? Like I grew up with Big Country Speedway. Like we, you know, NASCAR was always Sunday, but your ass was in that seat every Saturday night in Cheyenne. But, you know, if that were the case for me, I would definitely want to go watch it, smell it, breathe it, all that stuff. But
Mhm.
it's interesting, and that, I don't know, with the younger crowd coming up, maybe they love to be in front of their iPad more so than experiencing it. So
You know what's weird though is when you do see these big shows, I think it is event based, because when you see the High Limit or World of Outlaws come to town, you look up in the stands, they're damn near plumb.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere they've gone is packed. So I think part of the problem is with the local shows is that they're worried car count. You know, you're not going to have the purse. So guys aren't, that's like me. We've talked
Sure.
about this 100 times, but guys aren't going to show. It's like, if I can save up and go to a big regional show, I'll skip that week at the home track, which luckily I haven't had to make that decision, you know, and it's close enough that I try to hit our local races because I want it to grow. There's some times where it's not justifiable for me.
Sure.
But I'm like, I want to see this develop. And the more people that we get, it's like, it is a compounding factor. But I do think that again comes back to car counts, because obviously the big boys are doing it. And even when we go on the road to a lot of these regional tracks, they may not be sold out or completely packed, but there's enough people there to where it's like, shit, this is growing, you know? But you know, that's really, it's just, you got to make an event out of it because you are competing for attention and running, you know, on those nights too. Again, they're not running 7 classes at an outlaw show. They may have 2 and they may have 3, and they make an absolute spectacle out of it. People are there buying the booze, they're buying hot dogs. The kids aren't bored and getting out of control.
Trailers. Yeah.
You can up the ticket prices. Yeah, the merch is there. It's a full blown atmosphere. It's like a concert or, you know, something like that, to where then it justifies it for promoters too. So
yeah, it's hopefully it gets better. Obviously, we love to see sprint cars, and listening to the amount of podcasts I do in a given week on, you know, the asphalt side as well. It's like those asphalt guys in NASCAR specifically are starting to talk about the dirt side a lot more than they, like, it was almost like, okay, cool, you grew up dirt racing because that's all there was, and bumfuck North Carolina or wherever the hell you came from. But now it's like they're talking about it because you see the benefits of these drivers coming up that swap. And so I truly believe, like, it's cool to see that sprint cars and dirt racing are getting the notoriety that they deserve, because it is cool as shit. But at the same time, it's like, well, we can't, in the same breath, we can't make the little man or the local grassroots die off just because the mainstream is at new heights. Like, it's interesting, I'll call it conundrum that we're in to see, like, how we get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and you can't run your local guys ragged, running them every weekend, running the same class every weekend, because then if a guy wrecks, he's out for a week. Well, now he's out of the points. If there's a guy who just comes and hangs on, even if he puts the car out there with the motor missing, you know, the thing's not right, but now you're out of the points. It's like, well, now I don't have to go, you know, to where if it's every 2-3 weeks, you know, in between your class at that track, that gives the guys opportunity to travel a little bit if they're going to, because there's some guys who just can't, or there's some guys who don't want to. But that definitely helps too, a little time off instead of trying to just jam a show down everybody's throat every week. And then, you know, when you have those 5-car nights, boy, that can ruin an experience for a fan. And then they go away and they say, that was shit. And that hurts, you know, so. Yeah.
Well, all we can do is keep promoting it, I guess. And that's what we're here to do.
It is an exciting time. And it's like, you know, we're not really bitching. Obviously, you and I are invested in this at the regional and local level growing too, because we could sit here. We've talked about this too, of covering just High Limit, Outlaws, you know, Lucas Oil late models, World Outlaws midgets, or any of that. But obviously,
plenty of other podcasts that do that. But
yeah. So there was something you were going to ask me too about radio chatter or something. Speaking of,
oh yeah, so I forgot about that. So obviously, kind of, it's both worlds, right? So for the NASCAR fans that may be listening or watching. We were talking about kind of rivalries. Blair brought that up with DJ, but there's kind of this ongoing, and you'll see it in any national scene or even local if you follow it enough, between 2 drivers, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who obviously we know grew up dirt racing and stuff in Mississippi, but him and this up and coming guy named Carson Hocevar, who's really got a lot of speed, talented dude, drives dirt late models here and there. But they just keep finding each other, and usually Ricky Stenhouse, who's known to be an aggressor at times and wreck people in his own right. Carson Hocevar has kind of been doing that to Ricky Stenhouse the last couple weeks. And as we know, last year at the All-Star race, Ricky Stenhouse took a swing at Kyle Busch after, you know, their incident on track. And so it's like, I think it's the second time in 3 weeks, I want to say, that Carson Hocevar has just flat out dumped Stenhouse. And after the race, obviously the Cup cars have the in-car cameras and you can hear the audio. So they're parked on pit road, and Ricky's telling, Hocevar, like, what the hell, man? Like, this is the second time in as many weeks or whatever. And he basically is threatening him, which I'll comment on that in just a second, but he's literally telling him, I'm going to beat your ass, and this is streamed. I don't know if they showed it live because I turned it off, but it's all over social media, him threatening, another guy, which you got to think about your sponsors. You got to think, I'm sure the NASCAR head of, the officiating crew, the owners of NASCAR are going to say, hey, you can't be, doing that. But anyway, so it's like, at what point, like, I saw a lot of comments saying, like, if you're going to confront someone, like he did it perfect with Kyle Busch, he waited outside his trailer and they had a face-to-face and then a fist-to-face conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like sticking your head through another man's window and threatening him and whatnot, I think that's a little, I don't even know what term to say, but would you rather, my question to you was, like, if that's going to happen, like, who knows if Ricky will do something or not, or if NASCAR polices that situation, but it's also good for the fans and give everybody something to talk about, like I am right now. But do you think that, in your opinion, like, if you have a problem with someone on the track that dumped you or raced you, in your opinion, wrong, are you going up to their trailer? Like, how are you handling that? Because I think the word I guess I could use there was chicken shit from Ricky, to go in through the window net essentially and start, threatening him or whatever, when he could have handled it differently. I just think, like, there's so many cameras and media and stuff. And like, I don't know if Ricky was thinking about that in the moment, like,
Mm-hmm.
The publicity that it'll get, but like, how would you handle something like that?
Well, I think I'm a little different. There's always circumstantial stuff. I mean, because like you said, if it happens multiple times, now I always try to be chill and give people grace, because like, say
your wife is very interested in your response here. I'll put it up on the screen.
Well, that's why I say it just depends. So, in that situation, like, you run into guys, if you're racing with somebody every week, so I say DJ and I and all these guys from these different tours, you run into them a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to not give somebody grace when they just screw up. Like, say they throw a slider and miss and they wipe you out. Say it happens. You can kind of tell the difference between an accident and a guy who does not give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, if somebody doesn't give a shit, one time you usually get a pass, unless it was just like they drove right up into the door and we're going to squeeze you into the fin. I mean, there's, if it's intentional, let's say just like seriously intentional and not a racing accident, that's usually a problem. And I think anybody would have a problem, and
Sure,
you can lose your temper. And I mean, I have before, so that can get out of hand. I think Ricky Stenhouse kind of has a track record now at this point too. So you got to look at a guy like that, because like you said, they race in and out every week.
yeah.
So when you kind of have developed from the Chili Bowl on, I don't give a fuck what happens to you, I'll break your ribs with my right front. If he does that to me, I'm pulling out to make sure. Yeah, I'm pulling out to make sure I get out of the car, and it's going to be what it's going to be,
Yeah.
But
And like,
if it's an accident.
Yeah. And I totally forgot. I'm glad you brought that up about the Chili Bowl. Like, he was, he said those things, and like, then he gets into obviously the all-star race event with Kyle Busch, and he does swing, but I'm like, if you're gonna, not take this behind closed doors and talk with the driver that's done you wrong, so to speak, and you just like keep doing it in front of all the cameras, and it's just like, what, you're almost making yourself look bad, because you're saying all these things and then you don't follow up. Like, we're not promoting violence or fighting, but it's just like, it's just it's sometimes mind-boggling.
Sometimes, and it is different. I don't know what it's like to do it for a living. So your job's on the line if somebody's wrecking you consistently. That's a little bit different for me. It just comes down to, damn, you tore my shit up, and now I can't race because you're an idiot. But at the same time, if I race with these guys long enough, I'm going to make a mistake. And especially when you're like, for the sprint car stuff, for me, you're going so hard that when the car lets go or you miss, like you talked about earlier, if you miss the bottom and you didn't mean to slide somebody, and now you're carrying, 8 feet further than you thought you would, and some guy's trying to drive around you and you squeeze him, oops, so I try to give people grace. Like I would hope they would me on the first one. Second time, if I do it to a guy twice, I could see why he's going to be pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
I might be unbuckling, because what are you going to do? You ain't going to let a guy just punch you or what I mean? Now we're fighting if they want to fight. Most guys in the series I run are pretty chill, and you really try not to tear people's shit up. At that level, it seems like nobody cares.
Yeah. What I was going to say, like, for one, at the incident 2-3 weeks ago, they asked him if, Blair and Austin have a rule.
We'll talk about that.
So real quick, NASCAR asked him after the race, like, are you going to do anything about it? And he said, no, it cost me too much last time because they fined him like 65 or 75 grand for that one half punch, if we'll call it. But I just feel like you don't see, maybe at the like local dirt tracks that aren't televised and have all the media, like you might see some roll arounds, tumble, dust flying, whatever. But like you don't see it. Like people like High Limit, World of Outlaw, maybe they just don't show it. But I just feel like it's kind of at a certain point, like especially with, like you said, it having a track record of, oh, I'm a tough guy, I'm gonna punch you, I'm threatening people, and then nothing happens. It's almost like a drama, like high school drama, and that's like, it's not, you're not doing it for the right intent. It's just, I don't know, I just wanted to bring it up because it's very odd to me.
I do think maybe, there's a way to make money off that too. It was kind of like Kyle Busch back in the day. By being the villain, you can draw a real following.
Oh, sure.
I could never do that because I've always just wanted people to like me. I just like to get along. I don't want to cause problems, Well,
it's not like Ricky Stenhouse is setting the world on fire and winning races and stuff. So it's like, what are you throwing punches for? Like 24th place? Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. There's always guys like that, and it's just not me, but like Tara, the rule is she can't, if she doesn't see my brother or I running, she can't get involved because that's the worst is race wives that are always starting shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's another segment for another time, but yeah, I just
I agree, man. I think it just gets to be obnoxious to me. I don't like crybabies. I get it, you being pissed off if you're wrecked, and especially
and rightfully so. Like, I would be pissed if I was in his situation, but again, at that stage, the in-car camera is still recording audio, and you literally on record now saying, "I'm going to beat your ass." Like at that point, NASCAR has to step in and be like, "Hey, there's kids watching this." Like, anyway, it's
See, and I don't know that to me. I guess if that probably was better than him grabbing a guy that's still belted in. I'd be like, get out of the car. You know what I mean? Get out and let's ride on the front stretch. I do like when guys fight on the front stretch if they're going to do it. It's just two dudes. And if they both agree to it, if not,
like hockey, let's get over it.
Yeah. So,
and there has been, I can't remember what I was watching. It was a replay. I don't know if it was dirt or asphalt, but the guy, same kind of situation, but he literally went up to the winning net and said, "We're doing this. I'm going to wait for you to get out of your car and take off your helmet. We're going to do this." And they both did. And it was like, this is amazing. In 5 minutes. And then all the crew guys were there and it was over. Like, that's how it should go. But it's just like, these guys are just, they're all talk. I don't know. It's weird to me. Like,
that's a lot of it too.
Yeah. It's just,
there are cameras. They know there are cameras everywhere.
Exactly. So, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, want to talk about fighting a little bit. Nothing like to end the episode.
I don't see as much anymore either. And like at our local short track here that was asphalt, they always, and you hear that all over the country, we'd go to the fights and watch a race break out.
Right.
Like, dude, I don't know. Those people just, it always seemed to me like I wanted to be looked at as we were running a professional operation. It was, it
looks bad on everybody for sure.
Yeah. And it doesn't solve it. It just makes it, I guess it's exciting for the fans. Maybe that puts asses back in seats if we all just get out there but I don't know, to me,
that's the resolution. We all just got to start beating each other's face in, and then
I guess we can all get out pissed off and start kicking ass. You know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know. I try to be robotical about my racing and not let your emotion get to you. And I think those guys probably genuinely last longer. And some of the best advice I've gotten that I really try to think of is when Rick told me, when you win, don't be too high about it. And when you get your ass kicked, don't be too low about it. And you'll be here a lot longer than the guys who are just, super, super pinged off every weekend. It's like, that's just, so I always looked at those guys as like, hey, they know what it is and they take it for what it is. And then we come back next week. And now I definitely want to beat that guy and I'm not going to give him an inch, especially if he's been, he's going to, if it's the choice, then like, I'm not going to wreck you, but you're not getting an inch. And if we both go together, if you're being an asshole, fuck, we'll both go for a ride in the ambulance, but
send it, bud.
Cause then, it's like, you're not going to bully me, nobody, it's like, we'll go for it. Cause I don't give a shit. We don't, and I guarantee you guys that race sprint cars, they don't give a shit. So everybody race each other pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's just, mind-boggling to see this continue to happen. And I know it has nothing to do with dirt racing, but just
no, it does. I mean, it's all pertinent to the sport in general, because
yeah.
I do think we can go on the NASCAR side too. The consequences. I remember a comment Tony Stewart made years ago about the 3-legged chair or stool, and that was relevant, but at the same time, like, I don't feel when I go to a NASCAR race that something bad could imminently is going to happen. To
right.
where those guys aren't really afraid to lay and wreck each other,
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, Michael Ann will, she loves that drama at the end of the race, because obviously she's not vested in racing like we are, so she's not like in tune with every lap, listening to everything, watching everything. And like sometimes when there's a big wreck, she's like, "Oh shit, are they going to fight after the race?" I'm like, "Oh, there's pretty good chance." So like it does draw attention to it, which NASCAR is not going to complain about that, but at the same time, like, this isn't, let's not make a teenage reality TV show out of a motorsport. So anyway, we can go on, but
I agree.
But yeah, appreciate. I think that was all we had for tonight. So we'll pump out. Hopefully, we'll have another guest next week. But yeah, I think we'll have a lot to talk about with us both being at I-76 and helping Blair out and talking about sights, scenes, and smells. So
104 degrees, baby. Buckle
I was going to mention that. Yeah, for anybody that's participating in any racing this weekend in Colorado, holy smokes, that's a big one. So definitely hydrate and lay off the Coors Light.
On.
Yeah, wait. Don't drink anything on Friday, and hydrate. So, but yeah, excited to get back to the track and help Blair out and kind of get back in the realm of things. Been way too long. So looking forward to that. And see this one last comment. What do we got here? Gross.
Raider will be there. So
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'll be happy. We'll just tag. He's a big son bitch, so we'll just both punch him.
Yeah,
right in the jaw.
Yeah. Talk about fighting. It will take both of us. That's a big dude.
I'll ride him piggyback. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we get some content there. Tara, please get out your phone and record that. But yeah, good stuff. We appreciate DJ coming on tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one if you were on live or if you're listening to it later in the week. But yeah, stay tuned to all of our social media platforms now. Getting to be a lot. YouTube. What did someone else say? Sorry, I was on the media.
No, Raiders just now.
Yeah, no, it will not go. It will not go well for anybody involved, except for you. But yeah, so as we mentioned, go give us a follow. Throwin Sliders Podcast, no space, on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Scrubbing Tires Media 1. You can also search Throwin Sliders Podcast. It'll pop up for you. Please subscribe there, and then continue to tell your friends about our Facebook page, Spotify, all the social medias. We see you guys. We have all the analytics and all the new followers. Shout out to all you guys. I think we've gotten quite a bit in the last couple of weeks with all the different guests we've kind of been diving into. So we appreciate that, and we'll try to get some off the wall guests like we kind of have been doing here and there, and obviously keep it local as well, getting some of the drivers and crews here in this area. So appreciate all the views, comments, likes, the support, I guess I should say. And yeah, if you guys are coming out to Fort Morgan this weekend, Blair and I would be glad to chit chat with you about the podcast and everything that we do and take a picture with you. So definitely come up and say hi. So appreciate that. And I'll pass to Blair and we'll get on out of here.
No, man, appreciate it. Looking forward to it. So everybody out there, go watch some flat track motorcycle on YouTube. It's pretty cool. So I'd like to see that grow too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we see you guys this weekend if you're coming out to Fort Morgan. If not, we'll see you Monday night on the next one. So until then, be safe, hydrate this weekend, and keep throwing those sliders. See you. This was another production of Scrubbin Tires Media. The Throwin Sliders podcast is hosted by Blair Cooper and Brandon Hall. Video and audio was created by Bryce Holcomb. Please like, share, and leave a 5-star review. And as always, keep throwing those sliders.